Story family. This is Allison Gaillard with Run Your Story, where every story needs to be heard. And what a story you guys are going to hear with my incredible friend, Bradley Thompson. That's right, he's on the podcast, finally, yay! But in all seriousness, Bradley, huge shout out to you, my friend. You are just Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Encourager, and to know your story, like I told you, it just makes me appreciate you even more. It's a story of redemption and a story of, as you say, digging deep into that cave. And so I thank you for your story. I thank you for what you bring to our running community. It is absolutely priceless. You have the biggest heart in our running community, and I am truly thankful for you and thankful for all of those that have poured into you, that have allowed you to pour into others. It is absolutely phenomenal, and you are that, my friend, Mr. Phenomenal. Just, guys, you're gonna want to hear this story. It's so good. And a huge shout out also to Fresh Junkie Racing. They're making this podcast possible this month, and guys, we're getting over Battleship. So excited. And so Fresh Junkie Racing is who brings Battleship 12K to our area, and we are incredibly thankful for them. Guys, they produce events all the way from Mississippi to our great state, to Georgia, Louisiana, Florida, and even Missouri, because they put on 24 incredible events. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I'm already signed up for Mississippi Gulf Coast Half, Louisiana, War Eagle Fest. Come on, guys, go to their website, check them out. You're gonna wanna sign up for more of their races, because Battleship 12K is just a taste. And if you know me, you know it's my absolute favorite race. Definitely go check them out at freshjunkieracing.com. Guys, their events produce over 15 million in economic impact in our very own community, which also include hotel room nights, and they give back to charity, which is incredible. And with Battleship 12K, we know they give to so many incredible organizations that help our veterans and our military. And they manage and produce and market for 24 events. Guys, they are creating amazing experiences for over 50,000 athletes, volunteers, spectators. It's absolutely incredible. So check them out, Fresh Junkie Racing. Also, you can check them out on social media. My friend Mike does an incredible job, and his team with Fresh Junkie, absolutely hearts of gold over there. So cannot say enough great things about them. So guys, get ready, get set, and as Bradley likes to say, go attack this podcast. So excited! Yay! We've been talking about this for a while.
I know.
And yay.
Yeah, right?
So thank you so much for this.
Of course.
Because I'm such a fan of yours. Because when I think of Bradley, I think of the biggest cheerleader in the running community.
I appreciate that.
Like, you are like the hype man for everyone.
I try to be, because when people support me, I truly appreciate it. It goes such a far way, and just being that little light in someone's eyes, you know, it makes me a better person, and it makes me feel better about myself. Cheering people on, and like when I get done with the race, the first thing I do, and I'll talk more about this as we go, but I go right back to the finish line, and I'll basically cheer everybody else in, because I know at that last little leg it's the toughest, but when you hear people calling out your name, and it gives you that extra little oomph to get through it, and you feel accomplished, and it's a good feeling to spread the joy.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you're not a little light, my friend. You're a big light. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I appreciate that.
So, what is your run story?
Okay, I feel to talk about my run story, you got to go back some years and talk about what brought me to where I am now.
Absolutely.
And basically, since I was a kid, I've always been a competitive athlete. Played baseball, football, basketball. My dad was my coach for a lot growing up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and my mom, she's a tough cookie too. She's always been a competitive, spirited person. So I played sports all my life, and then after that, as I got older, got out of high school, I wanted to keep playing sports just because I truly love competing. So I got into stuff like flag football. We'd go play up at Sage, and then after that, I ended up playing competitive softball, and we would travel a lot, and we had a really good team. But then we quit playing as much, and I started getting down in the dumps and started doing dumb things in my life. And it's not necessarily an excuse, but my dad passed when I was early from brain and lung cancer, and it was always like I had a void that I could never fill. And I started doing drugs and alcohol pretty severely, and ended up costing me friendships, relationships. And I just know that through it all, I would wake up every day after doing these dumb things on the weekends and the weekdays, and I'd look at myself and be like, dude, you were meant for way more. Like, you were meant for so much more. This isn't who you are. You were meant to be great. And I say that selfishly, or not selfishly.
Yeah.
But I just knew that wasn't who I was. But it was just, you get in a rut, and then you get into these habits and you just keep doing them. But I would just wake up and be like, dude, you've got to get out of this rut. So then I started looking on YouTube and stuff, and found people like David Goggins, and reading a lot, actually. I was reading anywhere from 10 to 13 books a year, and a lot of them were motivational books, but some of them were books that would open up my imagination and stuff. And it just brought me back and self-centered me, and I finally got a grasp back on my life. And one book in particular was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was about Adam Brown, who was a Navy SEAL, who actually ended up becoming a drug addict. And still after that made the Navy SEAL Team 6, which everybody knows is like the greatest of the greats. And he was the most loving, caring guy. He would be injured out on the battlefield and still taking care of others before himself. And I always was like, that's my kind of guy. Like, that's who I felt like I always was as a person. And sometimes it's not necessarily healthy, but I look out for others sometimes more than myself, just because it is who I am to my core. So then I started getting fired up, and I went out and started running. And I'd go in my neighborhood, strap up my shoes, and I'd be like, let's try to run to that light pole right there. It'd be like 40 yards away maybe. And literally probably 10 times out of 10, I couldn't make it. But now, granted, I was probably running too fast for my baseball and stuff days, but I was that out of shape. I was 237 pounds. I'd gotten a lot bigger than I am now. I'm still a pretty big guy, though. Still 200 pounds.
Muscle. Nothing but pure muscle, right?
Skinny fat. But so then I just started running, and I ran into injuries over and over. This is before I truly knew anyone in the run community. So I had my old basketball shoes and stuff, and just shoes. I never got fitted to start. And so I ran into injury after injury, but I was so determined. And slowly but surely, I still failed at times. I would still go back to my old habits and do dumb things. And I would sit in that bed and be like, dude, are you going to become this person that you want to become? Or are you going to keep being the old habit, Bradley, making bad decisions, irrational decisions? But slowly but surely, when I started getting introduced into the run community, I started hanging out with people that were in the right group that I needed to be in. So started off, I would just run by myself, and then one of the first group runs I ever did was like a Fleet Feet group run, and I'd be last place every time. That's just my competitive nature to look at it like that, and I'm not saying that's the right way to look at it, but I'd be like, gosh, man, these people are something different. And I ended up going to a Port City Pacers run, and I met Victor Stevens, who was a huge part of my beginning, like starting to get into real running. And we'd go up to the convention center, run stairs, and I'd get my butt kicked. But I was like, these are the guys and the people that I need to be around if I truly want to become better. And some people just run to lose weight and stuff, and I do too, don't get me wrong. But I always love to be competitive in anything I do. It's just who I am. So I was like, I need to start hanging out with guys like this. These guys have something different. Like, I can learn a lot. So I started running with him a lot, and then eventually, but surely, I ended up signing up for my first 5K. And it was a 5K on Saturday, and then Sunday it was a 1 mile run on the road, and then a 1.2 mile run on the beach. It's called the Shark Run.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing that. I ran 32:37 and in the 5K, and I got my butt kicked by every mom pushing her baby, men 3 times my age, and I was like, man. But when I got done with the race, I was like, this feeling it was the best high I'd ever been on, and it was irreplaceable. And at the time, like I said, I really didn't know many people, so I went home and just thought about it all day. Holy crap, that was awesome. And it was just such an invigorating feeling. And I was like, I want to keep feeling this. But the next day we had the actual Shark Run, where you run 1 mile on the road and then 1.2 on the beach.
Okay.
I was so tired during the beach run. I forgot it was called the Shark Run. So they had people out there that were sharks, and they would get in your way and mess with you. I was at the end of my run, And this guy, he's getting in front of me, and I was so tired and like getting irritated. I was like, buddy, if you wanted to kid around like this, you should have just ran the race with us. And he looked at me and was like, dude, I'm a shark. And I was so embarrassed. I have thought about that every day since. I just want to see that kid and be like, I'm so sorry. You know, I was like, I talked about that forever, man. And it's a funny moment, but it shows you running is so hard.
Yeah, yeah.
It is so hard, especially when you're getting deep down into that pain cave and pushing and pushing. And granted, I'd run 3.1 miles the day before, and 2 miles a week was a lot for me, to be honest with you. So it was crazy. And like I said, I still think about that day to this day because I'm like, God, I wish I could see that kid again so I could be like, man, I'm so foolish. I'm so sorry.
Clearly, he was lacking in the shark costume.
Oh, yeah. They had a little fin I couldn't see. And we're running on the beach. So I'm like, this isn't North Beaches where it's you can step. Like, we were mushing into the sand, man. I mean,
I'm surprised you didn't take him out. You didn't tackle him.
Oh, I wanted to. If he would have stayed my weight, especially how big I was there, I'd have hurt him, seriously. But so I ended up doing that and then basically just kept slow but surely racing. And I would just keep running by myself. Victor Stevens. I ended up getting introduced to Julius Lunsford through Victor because he was going through the same little thing as I was. He was a little bit bigger and wanted to get in shape. And Victor, like when I went to that Port City Pacers run, I was like, where do we run? I didn't know what. And they're like, go ask that guy.
No.
Andrew Stevens, he's like the Christopher Columbus of Discovery. I mean, this guy, he knows every route. He can tell you if you go here, then there, then that, it'd be 3.8 miles. And he was such a good and encouraging person because, like I said, I was a very end of the pack person, and he'd come up and pick me up and be like, go left right here. He's still one of my dear friends to this day. We're on a group message called the Wolfpack Gang, and it's like me, Julius, Victor Stevens, Dave McDonald, another guy named Kwame. And we hold each other accountable. We talk about, hey, what do y'all have going this week? And when you see those guys being like, I'm going to run 10 miles on the trails, I'm like, God, I got to get out and do something, you know? So it's good. And so surely I ended up racing. I ran a half marathon, probably like a 6-hour half marathon. I still to this day am not a good distance runner. I love my sweet spots like 5K and under, 10K, but so
I am like, what did I just hear?
Oh no, I'm telling you, I'll get more into it as we keep going.
I'm like, you just did an Ironman.
Half Ironman.
It doesn't matter. But that's not a 5K up in there, buddy.
But if you know what happens to me after these, I get shipped to the major medical tent after all these races.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
Stop it.
I'll talk more in detail about it, but the Houston Marathon, I was rushed to major medical. I couldn't even soak in the marathon because I had back cramps. I had to get pushed over there in a wheelchair. Same thing happened with me and at the half Ironman because I like to go to my limit. And like I said, I'm not good. I haven't really dialed in fully my nutrition and stuff, but I like to push that limit. And I think it goes back to those deep dark days that I used to have. That my pain threshold's high. I can really push it to the limit. But when I get done and I hit that finish line, I cramp up like crazy. And my half Ironman, I passed out in the tent. They'd have hooked me up with IVs and
for real?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. So I'm trying to get better at it. So yes, so back to my half marathon though, it was the Vacasa half marathon over in Orange Beach.
Okay.
Team Magic puts it on. They're a great organizer. I love them. I ran that and I really don't know what time, but I was like, maybe I need to stick with 5Ks and stuff because these stink. I was so tired, but I just kept training. I had one of my good buddies, Sterling Rivers. He's a hell of an athlete, but he can't do it as much anymore because he's so busy with work and stuff. He's a pharmacist, but he's one of my favorites to train with because him and I have been best friends since we were kids. And so anyways, I did the half marathon, and then a couple years later, I'm sure I did a couple other races that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I ended up doing the crime prevention 5K. Death. Absolute death. Every year.
So bad.
It is so hot, and but like I said, those are the kind of races that I look forward to because I'm like, man, people don't like this, but I fight things like this. Not saying it's not hard. It's like I just said, it's the hardest race ever, but I ended up beating Victor Birch after. And Victor Birch and my dad were really good friends as kids. So it was like a real cool full circle moment. And he talked to me, was like, man, you need to start running with the Bombers. And we do speed work and tempo work. And that same night I met Ashley Benson and Bettina. And they were like, you need to come out there. Victor will get you fast. He's really good at that. Being like, you're about to go out there and get your butt kicked. So I ended up going out maybe a couple Tuesdays later, and we did a 200 and 400 meter workout, which for anyone listening, it's either a quarter mile or half of a quarter mile run. And you're going all out. And I remember leaving that run being like, man, I'm total. But these people are built different. Like, these people are cut from a different fabric. If I can keep training with them, it might really progress where I want to go as a runner. So I kept showing up, and unfortunately only had about 5 weeks to train with Victor before he passed. But just in that little bit of time, it truly showed me the big presence he was because of how impactful he was on everyone else around us, not just the bombers. Like, they just donated a street in his name out there. Like, he was huge. And he was a person I was like, man, that's who I want to be, because he was a great athlete, but his biggest characteristic was encouraging others. And I always felt like that's who I was as a person. Like yesterday, I got to train with Delaney. Yeah. She's one of my favorites. And I always tell people, getting to see someone like that, where there's not others like her out there at those events, the courage she shows to go up there. And then she starts before everyone else, where, you know, all eyes are on her. I know that's tough, but it shows how much courage she has. And it makes it easier for me to do what I do and be fortunate for what I do have. So it's just a blessing. And I kept training, and then now we're here. And that's pretty much it. I've met some really good friends along the way, and I'm super fortunate, man. It's a blessing what I get to do, truly.
Wow.
I know.
I was already a fan, Bradley.
Yeah.
But wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought you had been a bomber for years.
No, like a year. Literally a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it just started. It was.
Wow.
I went from not knowing these people. Now I just air out all my dirty laundry. To them. You know, it's like, when you run with these people for, you know, we got a 20-mile run, you got a lot of time. When it's cool how close we all are with each other. All these girls, all these guys, I run with all of them, and they've all been a huge part in me being where I am now, because I'm nothing without them. Yeah, I truly am not. Like I said, I didn't know what to do structurally. And then on top of that too, I went through a dark phase where I wasn't hanging out with anyone. I was just at home all day, every day by myself, which was good for me though. It helped me work on myself. And it just was through little trials and tribulations like that I'm starting to become the man that I want to be. And like I said, I think that little isolate period I needed. But now that I have these people and you have that support, everybody needs that, man.
100%.
Yeah, and it's not, I've had it all my life. It's just there's been times that I didn't want it almost. And I'm blessed with a great life, that's for sure.
Wow. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
Is just, now knowing your story, I just truly appreciate you even more.
Of course.
Like, I mean, it. I just thought you've always been the most encouraging Bradley. That's when I could just imagine you as a toddler. Yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
Like, you really are a hype guy.
I appreciate that.
And I don't know, it's just not only in person, but also in social media.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just thank you for being that.
Of course. Like, and just, it's one of those things too. I don't do it to brag about my results or anything either. It's honestly to inspire people, because I know people personally out there still that struggle with drug addiction or alcohol abuse and stuff. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. But it does take hard work, and it takes meeting the right people, and you find that circle of people and you stick with them, you love them, you care for them, inspire them, because they will inspire you too. It's like 2 years ago, I used to get on YouTube and look up Iron Man, and I'd be like, how the heck are these people doing that? Yeah. Now I hang out with Iron Man. I hang out with marathoners.
You are an Iron Man.
I'm not yet, but I'm getting there. I'm a half guy right now. That is, we'll talk about it later too. That's one of my main goals too, is to become an Iron Man. And I've just been working my butt off to get where I am now. I'm nowhere where I want to be. I'm appreciative of where I am now though. And still fight my demons daily and stuff. Getting out, like I said, with Delaney yesterday and stuff, it just helps you, because, you know, as much as I'm inspiring her, she inspires me. She's going out there on that roller. Like, we went over these hills yesterday. I'm like, I can only imagine how hard that is, pushing that, I don't know exactly what they call it, but that wheelchair technically, up those hills. And just for her to show up and show out like that, it makes my fight easier. Dude, you can't push a little harder. There's people in a wheelchair racing.
Yeah. Wow.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much my run story. I'm blessed to be where I am now. And I'm fortunate for the people that are in my life now. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, man.
Right?
So obviously you've had a lot of lessons
For
that
sure.
you've learned from running.
For sure.
So what are some that you'd want to share?
One thing is, as you become a runner or any kind of athlete, you got to learn to be punctual. That's for sure. So punctuality is a lesson I've learned. If somebody says 6:45 in the morning, your butt better be there at 6:30 because at 6:45 that group is going out.
Okay.
And then probably my favorite though is your mind is your strongest weapon because your body will keep pushing if the mind lets it. And there's been so many times in races where I want to give up, but I just keep going. And then you get to the finish line and it's, dude, I was dead at 1.2 miles. I still had 2 to go. In a 5K race, that's a deathly march still. And not just in running, but in life, your mind is everything. If you can get good at making it uncomfortable, you will be comfortable in situations like that is how I look at it. Just that, and you just keep pushing in a race and you find out you're made out of a lot more than you think. And humans are a lot stronger than we think because it's like you sign up for a marathon, there's no way I can run a marathon. And then you run that marathon and you're like, holy crap, I'm stronger than I thought I was. So I would say punctuality, the mind being strong, and it's not necessarily a lesson, but you're going to meet some really cool people when you run.
Yeah.
Great people, genuine, caring, loving people. It's the most beautiful community you'll ever find. Run, triathlon, all that stuff, but especially running. Like I do triathlons, and I have friends that are triathletes, no doubt about it. But running has really made me whole again, I guess you could say.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, those are so good.
For sure.
Okay, let me ask you this. What is your favorite road race?
Okay, so my favorite road race, only because of the situation. I've got a couple of them, but my favorite race would technically be the Houston Marathon. That's where I was raised, was in Katy, Texas, right outside of Houston. Before my dad passed and we moved back here to be closer to family for better support and stuff. My first marathon, I got to do it with all my bombers. Just the memories we made in the weekend leading up to it. And then I know people are going to laugh at this, but when we were in the group message, this is the Houston Marathon Facebook group message, everybody was like, we're booking a place at the Aloft. Well, I'm all giddy up and I get on a loft and I booked a loft midtown, not downtown. So I was 22 miles away from the race start. I spent I think it was $255 in Ubers that weekend. Oh, it was a nightmare. Oh, it was like if we were going to do it, just say a shakeout run or meet at this dinner at 5:45, I was leaving at 4:30.
Wow.
Because 2 miles in downtown Houston it's like a nightmare. So that, and I remember when I screenshotted it and I sent it to the group and I was like, I'm all booked up. And they were like, dude, you booked the wrong place. I booked through a third party.
Okay.
So because of that, I couldn't cancel. Oh, it was a nightmare. So if I did, they were like, you can cancel, but you won't get your money back. And you might not be able to switch to reservation. So I was like, let's just hang tough and we're going to suck it up. But fortunately, shout out to Keith Evans. He ended up booking me a hotel the night before the marathon at the hotel everybody was staying at, just so I could be right there a block or two from the start, which ended up being huge because we did so much walking already that weekend, man. It was, but just, and then besides that too, during the race, the atmosphere was incredible. I ran with Chuck King like the first 10 to 12 miles. I actually had COVID going into the race.
No.
I got over it that Tuesday and was like, I was under my sheets all week crying. Of course, my first marathon when I get COVID, but I was like, man.
Why not?
I know. Seriously, though. And like I said, it was just another little obstacle to overcome. And I was going into it negative by myself, but I was positive around all the other bombers. Oh, I'll be fine. But I knew I wouldn't. We ran a shakeout that Saturday before the actual race Sunday. And my heart rate, man, at the paces I usually run was like 20 beats higher. And I was like, this is not good. But I was so determined before you run a marathon, too, you really don't know what to expect. It's almost tougher, I would say, and I haven't done one, but running your second marathon because you already know what to expect. You know how tough it gets.
Yeah.
Mile 20 is basically the start of your marathon. It's like that last 10K, it's like a whole nother 26 miles.
Absolutely.
So just that, and then, but I ended up running with Chuck King for the first 10 to 12 miles, and then I ended up tripping at mile 12. I've never tripped in my running career. I fell in front of hundreds of people. My water bottle went shooting about 80 yards this way, man, and everybody's like coming up to me, and I'm like embarrassed, so I like get up and start running real fast, foolishly. So about mile 18, I ended up blowing up. But another thing, too, is during the race, because I was so excited about coming back to my hometown, I was going left to right, high-fiving people, touched this sign for a power-up. What's up? I was pointing at people, just all fired up. Chuck was like, dude, you got to keep it cool, man. You got to use all your... But I was just so in the moment. That's how I get. You know, now a 5K or something that I can actually competitively perform at. I'm like this, eyes straight down, laser focused. But a race like that, I was just going to get the job done. And it was so amazing. There were so many people there. And then my best friend at the time, Joe Dowling, him and I were good friends in Houston, Texas up until I was 9 or 10 years old. He just so happened to be at mile 20. I hadn't seen him in 22 years.
What?
Yeah, and he's like, Bradley Thompson. And I look over there and I was like, Joe. Right before that, I was walking. When I saw him, I was all giddy up. Gave him the biggest hug. It got me all emotional.
Sure.
I'm a very emotional guy, too. And it was a beautiful thing. Now, right when I turned around and he couldn't see me anymore, I started walking again. But he gave me that little 3-minute surge. And it was so cool, man, because that was a really good time in my life. I was just everything about it, having my dad and stuff around, and my dad speaking to a testament of how strong my will is, too. Like, my dad, when he knew he was going to pass away, too, I was going to bring the emails today, but I couldn't find them. He would still kid around with people. Like, people would find out he only had so many months to live. My dad had stage 4 brain and lung cancer and was at MD Anderson, the best cancer facility in the world. And just his poise and his ability to not let the negatives affect him has really been a big part of me becoming who I am. And then you get in these little tough battles where you're like, oh, I got 1 mile left to go, but I'm tired. You find reasons. So that was my reason. And then doing it for him in the marathon. But then I got done with the race, and you're like, woo, I'm getting done. I see Jenny and Delaney right here, and they're like, Bradley. And I'm like waving at them. I'm so excited. I hit that finish line and just go. And
what?
Oh, yeah. And then I come around the corner, and Jenny was like, where you at? We're waiting on you. Of course, everyone else had already finished before me. So all the bombers were waiting at Corral A. So I get my stuff like from the drop bag area, and I walk around the corner. I was in such bad shape that I couldn't even celebrate, but I come around to Corral A, and they're like, let's go. It was the nicest, coolest moment. Made me emotional. Okay. It just shows you how good that group truly is, man. But right after that, we like went to go take a picture, and I couldn't get off the ground. Yeah, I get like back cramps, and my whole body will lock up with cramps. So then they came and brought me a wheelchair and pushed me over to Major Medical. But the rest was history, man. Melissa Auld and I, we flew together, and we had a great time. And that next day, it kind of stunk. But after the marathon, we had a checkout time of 11 at our hotels, where our flight went until 6. So she was like, we're just going to go to the airport and hang out. Yeah. Well, I was like, I'm about to get to know Melissa Auld really well. So we like ate Chick-fil-A 2 or 3 times, and little things like that. You find the blessings inside of them. I'm like, God, this is going to suck. But at the same time, I was like, I get to talk to Melissa, who is one of my favorite chicks, too.
She's amazing.
Loved to run with her. She's a great runner. And it was just a great overall weekend. Obviously, triathlon, I'm not going to go into too much triathlon. Augusta was a great race. Panama City, I did that half Ironman a year ago. So, yeah, but I'd say Houston first and foremost for sure, though, just because of the sweetness, getting back to my hometown and then getting the job done under tough circumstances. And it was hot and humid. I remember it was like 50 degrees a couple of days before, and then that day we get there and it was like 88 degrees humidity. And any marathoner knows 75 is hot.
That's right.
You want 30. And they call me Walrus. I like cold weather. And because I'm a bigger guy, but like I like cold. I'll go out there 30 degrees, no shirt on.
I was about to say, you don't wear clothes anyway.
No,
so.
And I sweat so bad. It'll be 30 degrees, and I'll post videos on the Bomber site, me rinsing out my shirt of sweat, and they're like, dude, it's 30 degrees. I'm like, I can't help it. I sweat so much, man. But yeah, that Houston was a great race, and we're doing Louisiana this year. I'm only going to do the half marathon, but I'm super stoked about it because I had some injuries with work this past year that kind of didn't let me get all the running training in that I wanted to. Yeah,
you kind of fell off a roof.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Dad, and then I dropped a 40-foot ladder on my ankle and about broke my ankle.
Makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Right.
So 15 weeks went by and I couldn't run, so I was biking and swimming a lot. But yeah, we're excited for Louisiana. We'll see what happens for sure. Yeah.
I'm so excited because I've not done that race.
Yeah, I've heard it's great.
And that's what everybody keeps saying. And I'm like, okay.
I know, but I heard it can get windy and cold, but anything's better in Houston.
As I say, anything's better than the heat here. So
no doubt.
I will take.
I will too.
Give me the cold.
I soak it up, especially after the summer we just had.
But the difference is I wear a shirt.
Yeah.
So.
I wear as minimum as I can. Everybody knows that. Because if I wear a shirt, I chafe so bad.
Sure.
I'm like, man, there's pictures of me out there bleeding on my chest area.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. It's a rough life, man. It's a rough life. I just
But I embrace it.
I embrace it. I do what I can with what I got, man. So.
Let's talk about your pre-race routine.
Okay, so this is pretty boring. I don't do anything crazy by any means. Depending on the race, as far as fuel, I will, if it's 5K or 10K, I really don't eat anything.
Okay.
But I'll drink a little bit of electrolytes 20 minutes before, get to the race maybe an hour before, walk a little bit. I've been doing it a lot more recently. I'll usually try to walk like a mile before.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because usually I'm working out so much and training so much every week that when I go to start a run on a warm-up jog, I'm like, God, man, my body's running on cinder blocks right now. I feel like I'm running through cement. It just is tough. So I've been walking a little bit and I'll warm up the body that way. Then I'll do a super easy 10 to 20 minute jog, like very slow. And then just from there, especially like on the way to a race though, if I'm by myself though, I'll stare in that mirror and be like, you better get ready because we're about to go deep and dark into a place that not many like to go. That's just how I get myself hyped up. I know it sounds crazy and psycho, but it's who I am. I can't help it. And wake up and just have that little self-talk like, you better be ready to dig deep today because today's going to be tough. But it gets me going, and then I'll go and bump into Keith or bow up with them and be like, you ready to rock? And that gets me fired up too. Yeah. So that, wishing everybody good luck and then towing that line. That's pretty much it. It's boring.
Wow. No, okay.
Yeah, and I'll listen to some music.
Not at all what I was expecting.
Yeah. I'll listen to some music too.
Okay.
I'll listen to some music before I get there and put on my jams to get clocked in. But once I get to that race, I just get in that environment and I'm like, it's time to go, man.
Yeah.
So it's put up or shut up time.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so you crossed the finish line.
Yep.
Okay, and I've seen you cross several finish lines.
Yeah.
And you're not wrong when you say you were in the zone.
Oh, yeah.
There's no smile. You are like, I don't do anything until the finish line. And then when you cross the finish line, I'm like, oh, hey.
I know. What's so tough, too, is the bibs where we have to rip that bottom.
Yeah.
They're like, give me your bib. I'm like, I can't even breathe. Hold on, give me a second. I got people stacking up behind me. But yeah, so I'll get done with the run like that. And my first immediate action is I'll go back to right before that finish line and cheer on my bombers and cheer on even random athletes. If I hear someone be like, come on, Cindy, I'll be like, come on, Cindy. I don't know you, Cindy. But in some way, though, we're all family. We're all 100%. Part of a running community. And some might be slower, some might be faster, some might be going for some goals, and these people going for this goals. But we're all trying to get to one place. If that's health is wealth, or I want to be competitive, we're all on the same mission, and I support that mission. You know what I mean?
I absolutely love that.
I'm a non-judgmental person. I like being the best, and I really do. Now, am I the best? Nowhere near it. But at the same time, though, I respect everyone and everything. I tell people all the time, I encourage them to come out to Bluebell. And some people will get a little bit discouraged seeing our workouts. And I'm like, but you don't understand, pace is irrelevant out there. It really is. Like, just show up. We're all doing the same mission. We're trying to get better. Whatever that better means for you, that means running a 17-minute 5K or running a 40-minute 5K. No one cares. And we have so many different ages, paces, everything. So there's so many people you can tag along with. And then when you run with people, it just makes a world of difference. But yeah, I'll get to the finish line. I'm sorry I'm getting sidetracked.
No, not at all.
I'll just start rambling, and I'll just cheer the people on. And then once we get done, I'll walk back and start hanging out with my little clique. And how'd you do? Let's go, man. How about mile 2.2 when blah, blah, blah. And then after that, we're checking Strava. See how many likes we got. Seeing what I did in the 400, the half mile. I love analyzing data. I just love it. It's who I am. I like going over information. Maybe if I'd have ran this mile a little bit slower, I could have chopped down on that second mile. But yeah, first and foremost, though, is love and support people and stuff, and then hang out for the award show and cheer. Usually the Bombers light up the scoreboard. So,
Okay.
I'm like, woo, woo. But it's a great time for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very excited to know. What is Bradley's favorite running item?
Okay, so this too, I really don't know. This hat I'm wearing right here.
Okay.
It's got a lot of blood, sweat, tears in it, that's for sure. I've ran with it a lot. This is my Nick Bear hat. It's a Go One More hat. He's a great athlete. He's like a YouTube guy, but he's just incredible. This guy runs high mileage, lifts weights. I don't lift many weights. I actually just got done lifting a little bit of weights, but my butt gets so kicked every time I do it. But I know it's good to do, so I try to do it. But that... People are going to make fun of me for this one, but I call it chamois butter. I think it's chamois butter.
Okay.
I get it bad everywhere. So chamois butter and then my shades. I have super sensitive eyes.
Okay.
So wherever I am, like what's so crazy is when you have sensitive eyes, even if it's overcast, that glare, man, will rip your eyes up. I'd say those things, and probably my New Balance shorts too.
Okay.
They have like undergarments in them built in. Just love them. I wear them every race, and I don't know why. Sometimes you find something that's just the perfect fit.
Yeah.
And I got those from Fleet Feet, so shout out to Fleet Feet for that. But yeah, probably those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Running shoes.
I'm wearing them right now. It's about the only shoe. Once I get stuck in a way, I just stick with the shoe, the Clifton 8s. Hoka.
Okay.
I love them. I've had the Arari 4s. Let me just think the Rincon 3s. I love all those, but the Cliftons, I have like super wide feet. I'm a bigger guy too, so just running hard and stuff, I like a lot of cushion. So those are my everyday runners. And then on race day, probably a year or so ago, I went over to McCoy's and talked with Joe and was like, I want to be fast. And I can't get it physically, so give me something that will help me. So he was like, why don't you try on these Newton Fade 8s? And they have a lug in the forefront of the shoe that kind of gives you a really nice push off. The only problem with it is if I run in them, the next day I darn sure am not running because they rip up my calves.
Wow.
Yeah, but I love running in them because I run fast in them. So the Newton Fade 8s on race day, and then every day Clifton 8. I was actually fortunate the other day, Clifton 8 actually brought their model back out on the Hoka shelves for super cheap. Usually they move up Clifton 9, 10, whatever. But you find a shoe, you love it, and then you haven't gotten injuries from them, you try to stick with them. Clifton 8 for sure, and then the Newton Fade 8s.
Wow. So which one do you use for tries?
I use my Cliftons.
Okay.
Yeah, just because usually I'm already banged up from biking however many miles. So the run, you're not doing necessarily that fast. So I like a little bit more of a cushiony feel for sure. But a 5K or something just straight up. Maybe potentially 10K with the Fade 8s, but you can just rip it from beginning to end.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Longer runs, how do you fuel?
So for running, I would use something like a GU gel.
Okay.
Yeah, so before my run too, like I told you, I'll do 20 minutes. I'll do electrolyte drink or something. And then as I get closer to whatever race I'm preparing for, half marathon or marathon, I'll try to find out what they have on course and then mimic that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
For sure. And then that way, race day, every mile and a half, you're going to have this there just in case. So you're never trying anything new on race day. I'll do gels, GU gels. I love the consistency. They're thick and they taste great. G1M Sport, which is like an electrolyte carbohydrate drink.
Okay.
I'll drink that here and there, but like I said, you're not going to have it on race day. So it's good to have before or after. And then Gatorade Endurance, which a lot of marathons do provide on course. So those are my kind of items. And then as I get farther into a training block, I'll start trying to dial in. Maybe I need gels at 4, 8, 12 miles or whatever the case may be.
Gotcha.
So, but
I like it.
I love GUs.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What has been a favorite running memory?
Okay, I've got multiples. Right
Absolutely.
Houston for one. I already described that one, so I won't go too deep into it. But just the camaraderie, all the people, the atmosphere was electric. I mean, they had like mile 2. I remember seeing like they had a couple Elvis guys on the sideline. I walked up, of course, high-fived them. Probably went 0.2 of a mile more going that way, but the atmosphere, just everything about it was electric. Crime Prevention 5K, which I talked about as well because of Victor Birch, and that was really the opening the door to becoming a better athlete. And then one in particular, so I talked about Sterling not so long ago. He's an incredible athlete. The kid could go out right now and kick my butt in anything, and he doesn't train near like me. But we ran a race down at Orange Beach called the Zydeco 5K. And I was like decently prepared, like not anywhere where I would be today doing it. But he was thinking back to his cross-country high school days where, dude, we got to start out hot, get out of the group, and then we'll settle. And I'm like, dude, this race got like 100 people. We'll be okay. But, of course, we did that. So we went out, but I by no means was capable of these paces. But we were running like, just say, 5:40 pace the first half mile. Well, by mile 1, I was walking. And we ended up, he was like, mad at me. He's like, dude, get going. I was like, dude, I just PR'd my quarter mile, my half mile, my mile. Like, I'm done.
Yeah, I already won. I'm done.
I already won. Strava's lit up. I'm going to get some kudos for that. That's it for me, man. So by the time I got to the finish line, we laughed and laughed about it. And then at the time, I was super pissed, though. Because I was decently prepared for the race. Great sleep, was eating the right stuff, and I was fired up. Like, this might be my first competitive race. And I mean, there's pictures of us. We're in the top 3, top 5 to start this race. And I'm looking at the people now at races, and I'm like, I still can't even keep up with those guys. And I'm like, I should have been nowhere near this picture. There should have never been a picture of me. You know what I mean? So
that's fantastic.
Of course, he still ends up running like 21:15. He blew up too, though. But man, to this day, I actually talked to him about it before today, about that Zydeco 5K race, because I was like, dude, I cannot believe. He said, we're going to start out hot, and then we'll settle. And I'm like, dude, I'm not a track star. But he was going about his cross-country days, and we did it, and we both just blew up. It's good to blow up every once in a while, but not like that. You don't try to PR your mile in a 5K. Let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen.
However, it's on Strava.
It's on Strava.
Forever.
400 meter PR. I was cool with that. Half mile, but then 5K, not a PR. But it was cool. I would have to say, too, just because of the benefit I ended up receiving from it, meeting Victor at the Port City Pacer Run. And just when I've been super close since then, he's the easiest going person. He's actually potentially moving to New York soon, too, which I'm super bummed about for a job. So that kind of stinks. And we haven't ran together as much just because, you know how it is, like, you get so caught up in your own ways of training, and then he runs so much. And
for sure.
Like 3 in the morning, 26 miles done.
He'll like, I'm in Biloxi.
I know. I'm like, dude, he runs marathons for breakfast. He's the only dude I know that goes out there and runs marathons over and over before the marathon. He is, I'm telling you, look at people like him, and I'll probably never be there, but it's cool to know people like that truly, and like with him, he just loves running. Some people do it to lose weight and stuff. He enjoys running, and I really appreciate that about him. No night in particular, too, but another good memory is just all those long nights out at Centos doing hard. We would always, last year, we would do Tuesday speed work, Thursday tempo, and it'd be usually like me, Bo, Reynolds, and Keith Evans, and you'd get done after those workouts and just be plastered. But I'd get back in the car and just be like, man, like we're on our way to becoming really good. But it just, it's not near like it, but it's like going to war. You know, I go to war with these people, so you just build such a close bond with them. You do so many hard things together, and it just brings you closer together. And I'd say that, and Ivy Trek, I did a race over in Mississippi, Quitman, Mississippi, October 1st last year. Nowhere near prepared for it. And it was deceptively hilly, quote unquote. You can ask Steve Taylor about this one. We get over there, this thing is running up a mountain, down a mountain, running up a mountain, down a mountain. I ran with Dave McDonald the whole time. He's a great endurance runner. Great. He can hold a pace for a really long time. And he's a quality human being, too.
Yeah,
he's a great person. But we ran together, and it was 2 8-mile loops. And I was like, man, if you need to keep going. And he was like, buddy, just stay strong. He kept pushing me. And because like I said, I'm not good at endurance, longer events. And next thing you know, it was mile 10 or 12, and we're like running in the woods. We see this massive pack of deer run across maybe 10 yards in front of us, and it just gave me this energy. And him and I just turned it on there at the end to finish it. I didn't run any kind of pretty pace or anything, but just how I finished that, it was 16 miles nonstop. Great event. Steve Taylor ended up doing the 50K that day too, and I don't know how, because I got up with 16 and I was like, peace. They're like, you gonna hang out for refreshments? I'm like, no, I'm going home. Unless y'all have an ice bath here or something, I could like an ice chest I could dump my whole body in.
You're like, I'm about to start spasming.
I'm telling you.
We're leaving.
I was dead. And then I get in the car, I'm like locking up cramps and stuff. And I beat Sterling that day, my good buddy. So and he's a beast, but he does have knee issues. But still, a win is a win for me. And And I came around the corner at like mile 14, and I was like screaming just because I was so happy already. And next thing he like turns around and says, "What up?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to beat you." Man, it gave me another little surge. I kept hauling butt, but then he comes up to the line and his knee is like a softball. Oh. So I was like, oh man, I was like, that stinks. But I was like, I'm kind of glad it happened.
But I don't want.
I know, exactly. So we had a good day. It was me. Joyous did really well that day too. I want to say he ran the 25K with us as well. But me, him, and Dave did really good. And Sterling, obviously, too. We all came in with good times. But Steve, Taylor, and I laughed about it probably like a year ago. We were like, we can't believe they said deceptively hilly. Right. Coming from Mobile, you don't have hills here. So we really don't know what, but it was like 1,900 or 1,600 feet of climb for 16 miles.
Wow.
Which is a lot running.
Yeah.
So that one for sure. And then Steve Taylor and I on his birthday, he did his, I want to say it was like 42 or 46 mile birthday trek. I actually went with him for 2 of the legs. I literally asked my boss if I could leave a couple of times. And then on my lunch break, I left too. Just because, same thing with Victor Birch running these marathons and stuff. Like Steve Taylor he wasn't properly trained for that, but his mind, you know, it goes back to the lessons learned too. Your mind is so strong. It's the strongest weapon you have. He's just like, on my birthday, I'm going to go walk 46 miles or 42. I can't remember the exact number. But I was, you know, someone like that, I'm like, man, I'm going to support a dude like that. This guy's crazy, and I like that. I like me a little crazy. Him and I did the trek together, and you know him too. Positive spirit.
Absolutely.
He's another great person that I really look up to because he's always so genuine and caring about people. And if you come to him and say, hey, I'm going to do this for my birthday, he's like all aboard.
Oh, absolutely.
So probably those events. I'm sure there's a couple others that I can't think of, but yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know.
Those are fantastic.
Thank you.
Is there something that when you cross the finish line, you're like, I want to go eat this now? Like, I have put in the miles.
No.
No? Okay.
I get done with a race and I am totaled. I can't eat. I'm sick. I'm telling you, I get in a bad way. But when I do, just an hour or so later, and sometimes I will try to force down food, whatever the race is having or something. But when I get home and I start getting back to my normal self, I'll eat eggs. Okay. Love eggs. I love a good breakfast when I get done, for sure. Steak, anything like that, high in protein or something, I just love. But I'm like a trash can. I'll eat just about anything. And if you show me a sweet after a long endurance day, oh God, I'm going to binge eat until the whole thing's gone. That's my biggest thing I'm trying to get better about this year, and I've been doing better about it, is I kill the training, but I don't sleep that well, and I don't eat that well all the time. So, but you know, when you work out and stuff, you're hungry all the time.
It's all balance. You gotta.
I know, you got to have some. Some of this has got to be rewarded.
That's right.
My buddy texted the other night, was like Insomnia ? Which is a cookie place. And I was like, man, I can't. He's, dude, you got to start living a little. I was like, I'm living a little right now, just fat, you know? And he's like, dude, you are ridiculous, man. I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, I work out with all these people. We take photos, and I'm like flexing with them. I'm like, God, look at me compared to these animals. I swear, though, I'm like, I don't body shame myself by any means either. But it's like, man, like, people look at me and be like, are you sure you're the guy who does all that working out? Because you don't look like
whatever.
It. You know, you get what I mean. So
you did mention that you listen to pump up music.
Yeah.
So when you're running solo or like during race, do you listen to music at all?
I don't. Okay. I genuinely do it just before and after. Okay. And here's the thing, I really never run solo. That's why I'm so big on accountability. And a lot of it is I'm preaching to myself, because there's a lot of days I don't want to go do something, you know, and just having that group, you feel like you're not just letting down yourself, you're letting down them, especially if you go ahead. That's why a lot of times they'll send something like, hey, tomorrow at 6:45 a.m., I'll just go ahead and say, I'll be there. So then that time comes and I'm like, gosh, dang it. I hate it. I hate doing it. I'm like, got to be there. There's people out there. And so just running jams before and after just to get me fired up. And then when I get done with the race, you know, I'll give myself a little hoo-yah and listen to some good pump-up rap. For sure.
I was going to say, so what is Bradley's
Gangster
pump-up music?
rap.
Is it really? Okay.
Gangster rap. But then I listen to different genres for sure. Okay. There's like random, you know, I might hear an Alan Jackson song that I love. But primarily, it's gangster rap for sure. Gets me.
With a little Alan Jackson on it.
I know. Oh, listen, I listen to Taylor Swift too.
Stop
Yeah. I listen to it all. I've got a little Swiftie in me.
Okay.
I love her music too. So I shouldn't just say gangster rap, but for the most part it is. I listen to a lot of different genres.
So when that car is like bumping, we know that that's Bradley's pump up music. Like he's in the zone right
Oh,
now.
I'm sure people drive by me on the way to the race. I might need to call the cops. This guy looks like he might need help. Because I can't help it. I just get, boom, I get chills on my body. I'm just fired up, man. Especially like after a race when you perform really well. It's like, holy crap, I was super tired. Like I just pushed myself. So, and it's just, I don't know. I'm a very disciplined guy, but then you listen to music like that and it motivates you to do the hard things too. So I'd probably listen to music more if I didn't run or bike or swim with so many people.
Yeah.
But I've gotten so used to it. And I'll have family members all the time. They're like, dude, when you do those runs, you listening to music? I'm like, dude, I'm just listening to my heavy breathing. And they're like, that sounds miserable. I thought you were going to motivate me to start running with you. I'm like, no, this ain't some pretty story. But yeah, I love music though. I love music. We listen to it at work here and there, but I've just taught myself that you really can't have it during races. You're technically not allowed, or especially major races. But yeah.
Dude, that's phenomenal.
Just tune into the music in here.
Oh, man. I hope the next race I just see you pull up and just see the car just like...
Oh, yeah. I'll do one of these. No, I at least wait until I get out of the area so people don't be like, God, man, I can't believe I hang out with that
There's
guy.
Bradley.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you. It's crazy, but I love it. I love it.
Let's shift to recovery.
Yeah.
Do you have a recovery tool that you like?
I think Dave mentioned this. I have a massage gun that I do not use.
Okay.
I don't know why either. When I see people all the time hammering out their quads, and I'm not even like a big stretching guy either, but I do love my naps, especially if I go hit a long run Sunday, napping after for sure. And then usually by that time I start getting hungry, but I'd say that. And then another thing I do though is ice baths. I have a trash can at my house. People are going to make fun of me. They're like, dude, you get in a trash can. Yes, I get in a trash can. And I get 40 pounds of ice in this place right up the road from my house. I'll get like a scoop of some Epsom salt because my biggest thing with me is I run into like my feet get banged up from running more than like my actual muscles, my quads and stuff, my feet. So I try to put Epsom salt in there to get that soreness and stuff out of there. But I'd say that sleep is my greatest recovery tool, eating eggs, and then I should probably start using the massage gun more. massage.
You're like, let's throw it in there.
I know, I swear. But yeah, like I said too, being an athlete too, and for everybody, not just anyone trying to be great, recovery is huge. It's just as important as the training. And me as an athlete, I've failed in that situation, and I'm trying to get better about it as the years go on. Sleep, what you eat, all that is so important. That in itself is a recovery tool.
100%.
You know what I mean? And I know it's hard for us, trust me. Like I told y'all on here, I'll be the first to admit it. I'm bad about what I eat and stuff most of the time, but it's the right thing to do. Try to eat better. And if you do have a cheat meal, limit it to one day a week, not every hour of the week like I do. If I see some cookies, man, it's over with. Especially, it's just... You're like, God, I can't treat myself, but you try to be disciplined. I try to be disciplined in all aspects of my life. It's tough.
You got, like your friend said, you got to live a little.
Got to live a little, man.
Cookies.
Come with me to Crumble. Hell, send me the menu. Like, dude, isn't this that one you love so much? I'm like, dude, I had to delete the app, man, because I was getting on it, checking it like Strava or something.
That's hilarious.
It's not, though. It's bad.
It's hilarious.
It's bad, man. Like we say, you got to live a little. You truly do. Life is short. We all only have one of them. If you go out there and train hard, you should be able to treat yourself, but I just take it too far sometimes. Coca-Cola, stuff like that, man. I'm bad about it. I'm trying.
There you go. That's all we can do.
For sure.
That's right. Okay, so you talked about biking and swimming.
Yep.
Okay, so great cross training to running.
For sure.
But as a triathlete as well.
Yeah.
Is there any other cross training activities that you like to do?
When I have the time, like I just got back from Colorado and went on an awesome hiking adventure, but you don't really have that luxury here. But if I could get out into the mountains more, it would be definitely hiking.
Okay.
But I've been doing crew fitness lately.
Okay.
Shout out to Carrie Cox. She is an animal. I'd follow her into the gates of hell. She is a tough cookie. Her workouts are tough. And it's like a good combination of strength training and cardio. Like today we went and you would row 2 minutes and then row in 2. I advise all athletes, especially if you're injured, get on that row machine because it's a great combination of strength and cardio.
Oh, that's really good.
Great.
Yeah.
It's great. But we do 2 minute row and then 20 crunches. And man, I was like, I'm decently strong in areas, but like my stomach, oh my God, we were doing these ab workouts today. I had to keep like looking around, but like, damn, I hope no one's looking because I am failing. I do then look around and be like, God, I don't know. So Crew Fitness, it's a great environment, electric environment, awesome people in there, awesome people leading the class. And I'm trying to get better about it, strength training, because it really is a huge part of becoming a successful and injury-free runner. Yeah. It's hard. It's a hard balance, just like anything in life. It's a hard balance to figure out how you're going to tackle something while having enough recovery time for this, blah, blah, blah. But Crew Fitness, rowing, biking, lifting weights, and like we already discussed, swimming and biking for sure. Those are my number two, my 1 and 2 greatest cross training because I love to do them.
It's something about being in the pool.
I know.
And you can work up a sweat.
Oh, God.
In that pool, but man, you just.
I'm telling you burn calories like crazy too. And they'll tell you, you can sweat in the pool. It seems crazy. That's right. but I will tell you, if you come swim next to me, I might start stinking next to you because like workouts are hard, man. That swimming, it doesn't come natural to me at all, but I try to really work on my craft to at least be average. Yeah. And good for me. That's all. I get competitive with others. My main competition is myself.
That's right. Yeah.
I've been trying to improve everything, and cross training, I highly recommend it to everybody though. It's just trying to find a good balance. I've been going 1 day a week because I went to Crew Fitness probably like 4 weeks ago, and I was so wrecked for 6 days. I'm like, all my runs were terrible. I would breathe and my abs would hurt. It was terrible. So anyways, I've been trying to work that 1 day a week, and then I swim and bike a couple of days a week. And then slowly but surely, I'm going to try to add in that second day of strength training. So I went today. I could feel my legs as we're sitting here talking. And I have a 7-mile run after this, so I'm super excited for it. Not really. My hamstrings are done, but you're getting better at stuff like that. So I try to incorporate it. And that's my biggest goal in 2024 is I've been injury prone, like I already discussed, every year. And I'm really trying to, because I'll get really good for where I want to be as an athlete, and then I have a setback. When you can't truly progress as an athlete or as a runner until you can consistently train. Yeah. And I might only be done running or something. Still, you want to practice all 3 phases if that's what you want to be as a triathlete. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, is there a race that you're like, I don't think I want to go back and do that one anymore?
Everybody on here knows this one.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. So the Bells to Bayou half marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no,
man.
You don't like that.
No. Let me let everybody know, too. Like, Support City knows, too. I love the race. I love the venue. But that day, I want to say it was literally
It was so hot.
It was so hot.
And there were gnats everywhere.
Oh, man. And I had a course. We were doing our Houston Marathon training block, so I had a 3-mile run going into it before the run.
Okay,
so I did a 3-mile warm up. Then I go out and run with Stacey and Ashley, and I want to say I can't remember who, maybe Mary Trufant to start, but they were all running like a certain pace, and I was like, man, I'm gonna keep up. Oh my God, I blew up so hard, and then that like mile 10, I end up like maybe it was like mile 8. We ended up coming to the cul-de-sac, and we turned around. When I turned around, I started walking. I was so tired. And I don't know what it was. I had told Christy Evans before that race, I was like, I don't feel right today. And she was like, you say that every race and you do great. And I was like, I seriously mean it today. And I really did. But so Mary Trufant, being the good soul she is, she ends up walking up next to me. She's like, you okay, bud? And I was like, I'm just so tired. I couldn't even talk, man. And she was like, let's do the Galway method. So we did a 3-minute run and a 1-minute walk. I lasted 1 round, and I said, I'm walking the rest of this thing. And I was like, go ahead of me. We get to the end of that race, and I'm talking, and this is no judgment either, but like Sue Ann White-Spunner, Bill Brady, Marion Lofton, they're all passing me. I mean, I came in like dead last in this race.
No, you didn't.
I'm being dead serious. I literally came in dead last in this race. So Bo Reynolds is sitting there waiting at the finish line, and he like sees Erica Spann in front of me. And he's, come on, Erica, come on, girl. And he couldn't see me behind him because, of course, I was like this.
Stop it.
I was like crying, man. I was so disappointed. He goes to open up that beer, and he saw me, and he just goes, oh, God. He goes, he needs this. As I crossed the finish line, he hands me that beer. And I was like, you don't deserve this. So I put it down. I was crying. I was so upset. I was like, man, but we all joke about that race to this day. And it was just one of those days. Everybody has them. That's why humility is the key to success. Like, you're going to get your butt kicked some days. And I got my butt kicked that day, but I stood tall and I kept going. But I don't even know if I want revenge on that race because I'm so nervous. I was like, man, I just don't know. But I had 3 different people that day see me and be like, man, hand me a beer and I would just appreciate it and I'd set it down. I went home and I put my sheets over my head and I cried for 3 days. I YouTube how to become a better runner. Like, man, it's almost like I'd forgotten I'd been running all this time. It was just one of those days.
So hot. Listen,
it really was.
I got to be at a water station with Ashley's mom.
Yeah.
Oh, so much
I remember
fun.
that. I remember that.
But we felt terrible because, like, we were pouring water, and then the gnats, every time we pour water, like, we were like, where are they coming from?
Know.
So we were like, here's water with protein.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We were like, but we were standing there and we were drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
And so we kept saying, we're like, we feel so bad for everyone.
I know.
Here it is December.
Crazy.
And it is so hot.
I'm telling you.
So I love it when people talk about that race because I'm like, I saw the struggle.
Yeah.
Like, we felt it for you. Like, we weren't running it. And we were just like, man, this is horrible. This weather is
awful,
terrible.
man. It was
And then it
so
had that
tough.
little fishy smell, which didn't help.
Yeah, and there's you go by and be like, God, no, we were at the bayou. That's for dang sure. You better embrace this, but hey, you hand me that water, it's got bugs in it. I did not care.
Good,
liquid was liquid that day. But that's another good thing, too, that I know me, and I'm sure I can speak on the behalf of the running community, we appreciate about you, too, is you're always so willing to volunteer and stuff. And, you know, what you did for the adaptive athletes and stuff, that's awesome.
No, I
know, but seriously.
I love it. Like, and it's something that I say that everyone should at least volunteer for one race.
For sure.
Because it gives you a different perspective. And it's something that I tell people. I'm like, I have just as much fun volunteering as I do running.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, I don't feel as bad at the end.
I know, right?
But it's just something about you get to see people in a different way.
For sure.
You get to cheer for them. And then it just makes you appreciate the volunteers that do get up so early in the morning that aren't runners.
Yeah,
there are
exactly.
so many people that volunteer that want to be part of the community.
Yeah.
And this is a way to get everybody involved. And that's why I say, I'm like, there's a place for everybody
For sure.
in the running community because we need volunteers.
For sure.
We could be like the elite athletes and all just have our own water bottles at each station.
Yeah, exactly.
But it takes away
and then
from
you
something,
For sure. I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
you're good.
And then you get to cheer on all the other athletes too. And my favorite thing I always say to people is, man, you're making it look too easy when I can tell they're dying.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not even sweating. And they're like sweating bullets. You know, I'm like, man, you're making this look too easy.
I love that.
I agree with you. I love cheering people on from that perspective. I really haven't volunteered near as much as I should have. Dave tried to get me to do the Turkey 10, but I'm just so set right now in my ways. Like I said, I've got something to do early in the morning tomorrow. It's something that I need to work on too, is volunteering, because you want to give back to the people that give to you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I appreciate you as a volunteer and as a
thanks.
person.
Yeah, I appreciate
seriously,
that.
Of course.
I'm not going to run your pace, but I'll at least cheer you on.
You never know. Bails to buy you, you'll beat me.
No. Okay. So let's say that someone comes to you and they're like, Bradley, I want to start running.
Yep.
What is a piece of advice you'd give them?
First thing is, if you're in a community that has it, find a group. It truly means the world, and don't get discouraged. You're going to go out there, and a lot of times, especially at the beginning, you're going to have really bad runs. That might be because you start out too fast, because understanding pacing as a new runner is everything. Because if you go there and you start running with the group, you're probably going to be dead by half a mile in. You know, so I would say understanding you as an athlete at the time, or a runner, or just someone who's just trying to get healthier in life, understand what you can do as an athlete. Go get the proper shoes. That's huge. Go to your local store. Get fitted. And not just proper shoes, but especially if you're someone who sweats a lot, get proper socks.
Oh, that's good.
For sure, because I still to this day wear proper socks and I get blisters like crazy.
Do you really? Wow.
Oh, God. Oh, my toes, man. I feel bad for any woman that looks at them because they're nasty. So, yeah, just proper shoes, proper socks, getting in a group that's going to hold you accountable. Stuff like using maybe an anti-chafe rash, because especially early on, I don't know why it is. It might just be who I was as a runner. I don't chafe near as bad as I used to, but just using some kind of anti-chafe or something, and make sure you get shoes that You got a little bit of room with the toe gap too, because your toes get beat up running though. And then I would say too, once you start becoming a runner, sign up for races early and often, because you're going to go through ruts in training where you don't necessarily want to go put in the work. But if on January 16th, I've got you're like, gosh, I got to go do it, and then it just makes it a lot easier to look forward to something. And then once you get done with that race, you're like, that's why I train. That's why I run. Even if it is, like I said, a 10K, hour and a half time, no one cares. That's your own goal when you accomplished it. And then you see as a runner, hard work gets you really far in the sport. Now, being talented will get you farther. Being a hard worker, I personally believe I beat a lot of people because of hard work, because I really I don't come from a running background. Yeah. Now, I come from short, from here to that chair speed, but going distances, I don't come. So just become a hard worker and invest time into it, just like you would anything else in life. Focus on recovery, what you eat, all those good things. Yeah. And then find me and we'll run together for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
For sure.
I love that. That's so cool. Goals, do you have any?
I've got multiple goals. I want to run under a 5-minute mile. That's one of my biggest goals. Okay. Whatever happened, we have no idea. We have no idea. And it might happen soon, it might not ever happen. And that's another thing too, is set a standard. Like I've always set really high goals, because if I fail them, it's okay. Just go back to the drawing board, try again. But sub 5-minute mile, I want to become a better endurance runner and endurance athlete, like I told you. Regardless if that's just getting out there doing more hard, long work, or focusing on more nutrition and then becoming an Ironman. That was the first thing, like I said, when I was going through that bad pass of doing irrational things every weekend. I'd pull up that YouTube and be like, how are these people doing that? And it's crazy. 3 years later, I've accomplished a half of it, which is still nothing.
It's huge.
No, it is.
Huge.
It is. I didn't mean that. I meant as far as the full. Because I've gotten done with both my half Ironmans. I failed one of them, by the way, in Haines City, but 2 of them I ended up completing. And I was like, they have a whole nother half to do. And that just sickens my soul still to this day. No matter how much working out I do, I'm like, I just still can't fathom it. But it goes to show you, too, that your mind, man, your mind will push you so far, because you can only train so hard. I bike and run so many miles. That race, I'd probably say, I don't personally know, but it's probably 60, 70% mental, then the rest is training and nutrition, because it takes a lot. So becoming an Ironman would be a fulfillment. I've never had a tattoo. I just feel like I'd be goofy with one, but I probably will get a tattoo of an Ironman if I.
Oh, hey, there you go. Yeah. Here's the difference between Bradley and Allison. Yeah. Okay, Bradley. Yeah, and I'm like, listen, I love being the triathlons. Like, I love the environment. Yeah. It's what you said. It's something different in the running community. The running community is just so good. Like, it's so great. Amazing. But there's just something about mentally getting ready for a try. And you're right, I love Team Magic. Like, the Brett Robinson, that one is by far my favorite. Awesome. Anybody asks me, they're like, what try? I'm like, Brett Robinson. Yep. Now, again, here's the difference between the two of us. I enjoy the sprint. Yeah. I just do. I enjoy it. I'm like, wow, like, I can do this. When you're standing there and you're watching, you go and do that swim twice. Yeah. I'm like, he just got out. I know. And now he's got to go back in. I know. False information over here. Yeah. I'm like,
I get it.
I am done.
Trust me.
But I think some of it is, for me, I don't want to lose the joy of it.
Yeah, of course.
And so when of course, like, I'm watching all of you guys, and some are smiling. Yeah. Some are like, now, I never saw you. Yeah. Whenever you were just a blur. Like,
I was probably holding on to that jet ski over there. Or hold on to,
Because it's wild. But just, again, the way people come together and cheer each other on. It's awesome. And the other problem is this. My transition time. Yeah. Oh, God. Mine's awful, too.
My
husband's like, do you want some tea with that? Like,
I'm telling you.
You gonna leave anytime soon?
I know.
I don't even put socks on when I cycle in my shoes.
You can't.
I can't.
I already wasted so much time. I come out the water and I feel intoxicated. I'm like, I don't know if I just swam too hard, but man, I'm seeing 8 of everybody right now. So I totally understand. That is one thing I'm still not good at.
It is horrible. So I'm afraid I'm like, you know what? I don't even know how to get my transition time down.
I know.
So I'm like, there would be no point in me doing an Ironman because they'd be like, you take too long in transition.
Well, that's what's beautiful about Ironman, though, is you want to do everything in cruise control from what I hear. So your transition times are longer. When you're in your Olympics and stuff, that's when it's a little bit, you want to be sharper.
So I'm not sharp.
I'm not sharp either. I'm terrible, man. Like, I'll get over to my stuff and I'm like, helmet, glasses, shoes, socks. And I'm like, dang it, dude, I know. Then you get on the bike and you're like, I know I forgot something.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, but it's
100%.
It's terrible.
It's not like running where you're like, okay, I got everything. We're good. Yeah, you nailed it. That's so true. Yeah.
And then like on the swim, people get out the water and they're running up the beach. I'm like, how are you running? Like, it takes me 10 seconds to get my bearings. I don't know if I'm swimming too hard or what, but I try to practice transitions. But you swim pretty hard in practice. You swim like a madman in a race.
Yeah.
Especially when you're getting swam over and stuff.
Yeah, but this past year, the water was absolutely crystal clear. It was stunning.
Crazy, wasn't it?
And I was just going.
Cruising.
Like, yeah. And then, like, you would see, like, baby sharks and stingrays, and you're like, what?
I know.
And, like, I got out, and my husband's like, you did really fast. And I'm like, I was having the best time out there.
Isn't that crazy?
I was, like, in nature.
I'm telling you. And what's good about it, too, when you swim in the Gulf is you think that those big sharks are around, so it makes you swim a little bit faster.
Yeah, but I was like, look at that.
I know.
I
saw stingrays, too. It was an incredible swim. It was low tide.
Yes.
It was great. I ended up getting a run to the first buoy, which was nice.
Oh, correct. I was watching people ahead of me, and I was like, oh, they're not swimming. You can't. Like, there's no water.
I was like grabbing sand, and I was like, man, I'd rather be running anyways. Because like I said, I'm not a good swimmer at all. It takes a lot of work for me. But the salt water, because when I swim, my body sinks like an anchor. I'm trying to work on that. But that salt water gives you a lot of buoyancy.
Yeah.
I like swims like that, especially that race every year. You could skip a rock to Mexico. It's so flat. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
The day before, day after, it might be rough as can be. It makes me nervous. I'll drive down there. Man, I think I'm starting to feel bad. I might not go to that race tomorrow. Like, trying to make an excuse before I go out there.
You're like, there are things out there.
I'm telling you, man, you think I should swim out there, man? There might be stuff out there. But yeah, transition is a big part of it. Really trying to get that down because 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the difference in your race sometimes, depending on how competitive you are. But like you said, and I said, I come out that water, I'm like, I got to get my bearings, man. People are like jogging. I'm like, where are you going? Dizzy. And so it's a tough sport. It's a very hard sport, but just keep practicing and practicing.
Well, you enjoy your Ironman, and I'll be your cheering section.
There we go.
And I'll just stay on the sprint side.
I appreciate it. I need all the support I can get. And hey, listen, here's the thing though. Your sprints and stuff, they might be shorter distances. And I tell people this all the time, but you're pushing yourself a little bit harder. So like in an Olympic, I might be going farther than you, but I'm not pushing as hard as you technically. So you're trying to pace yourself more. Those sprints are all out.
Oh, man.
So they all are their own hard.
Yeah.
Half Ironman, you're going pretty hard. The whole time you're like, if you're on the bike, you're like, make sure I can run off the bike. Right. So there's a lot that goes into it. But no, those shorter races, Grandman.
Now listen, that one in itself, that's a hill just to get out of there.
I know. It's a nightmare. I remember talking to the volunteers at the top of that hill and the bottom. I'm like, I got to go back up this thing on the run. They're like, you sure do? And I'm like, man, I might just quit right here. I'm thinking about quitting.
You're like, I have to bike it.
I know.
And run it.
The biking, though, is insane because if you don't go in low gear, man, you might not make it up. That's a hill. And I'd say it's all day. Over half a mile.
Oh, it's brutal.
You know what I mean? Because you go all the way into town. So it's crazy.
And but then once you get there, it's fantastic. You're like, wow, these views are beautiful. Like, incredible. We don't really get that. And that's the other thing that I like about tries and within our running community is that you have the police officers. So whereas a lot of people don't realize that, we do have a big cycling community.
For sure.
But we live in Mobile, Alabama. So it's not the safest to be able to go out and ride. And so to have that time where you're like, man, I can go full on out. Like, I get to just be a kid again and not have to worry about being hit. It's fantastic.
It's very nice, yes.
So it's once you get past all of that, you're like, okay,
I know.
I got this.
I can do this.
But then I have to get back down.
I know. Even coming back down, I've got rim brakes. I'm like, tapping on my rim brakes. I'm like, man, I might not stop. This kid's going to get out of the way. Move that barricade. I'm going to go right into the water. I'm like, dang, man. But it's cool. So last year, though, I was injured for it. And I remember watching people come down that hill. And I'm like, man, they need to slow down. But it's so hard. Because especially rim brakes, disc brakes, you have a little bit better braking system. Right. But when you're tapping on the brakes like that, I'm like, man, my tire might burn up from it trying to hit this brake too hard. That's a tough race, so it's a very good run race. Awesome. And like you said, too, having the privilege of having those cops and cones or whatever it may be out there, a whole lane to yourself is nice, because when you're out there training on the weekends, it's nerve-wracking, man. And that's another thing, too. Safety is number one when it comes to triathlon, because a lot of people swim open water to get, and you got to be careful of what's out there. And so that's another reason I tell people all the time too, find you a group, because when you do things like that, you can get caught in a rip current.
Oh yeah.
So it's always good to have 1, 2, 3, 4 people there. And then on the bike, a car, especially riding into the sun or something, is not going to see you near as well as maybe 4 or 5 bikers with blinking lights.
Yeah.
So safety is number one with that sport, because it's a dangerous sport. It really is. It happens all the time. And half Ironman and even local event, people get hit and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a privilege to have nice security to block the roadways for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've talked about when things get hard, that you talk to yourself. So what is your mantra, Bradley? I've got to know.
Everybody knows this. It's literally just one word: attack.
And
you'll see everybody say it here and there. They'll say it, attack, and it's just what I've lived by, regardless if that's an easy run I'm going into, I just do attack. And nothing much sweet and special about it, but everything I do when I toe that line or whatever, biking or anything, I just like to attack. Even outside of running, attack the day, regardless if that's at work or whatever the case may be, just attack for sure. That'd be my mantra for sure.
I love that.
I know.
Oh, wow. That's so good. So you've done obviously all these different links.
Yep.
So what is your favorite link to run, whether it's a race or a training run? What gets you psyched?
I'd say the 5K and under.
Okay.
Because it's the only distance that I die at the end of it, don't get me wrong, but I don't cramp and stuff like that. But it's that perfect distance to where you can run pretty fast for a decent amount of time, and you don't have to worry too much about nutrition and stuff like that. So even Jenny's Boo Crew too, love that race, because it's like we talked about, attack. That gun goes off and it's attack. You got 2 miles. It's only however many minutes it takes you of just suffering, and you just go out there and just hammer down. So any kind of race that I can hammer, that's the ones I really like. So 10K, I love 10K too. And half marathons and marathons, I love all of them, don't get me wrong. But favorite, it's 5K. For sure.
I love them all,
but
my favorite child.
I just die. I die in the half and up. I haven't figured it out, man. I'm trying to figure out if I'm ever going to get over this little hump where I don't literally full body cramp. And I mean, it's little things like Augusta. I had 90 ounces on the bike in 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is a lot. But at the end of that race, they had to put me in a wheelchair. So it's crazy. I'm just trying to figure it all out. But so yeah, 5K for sure. It's just and I'm pretty good at it now. It's just the perfect distance to where it involves a lot of strategy, but a lot of heart and guts too, and really going deep in that pain cave and figuring out what you're made of.
Oh, that's amazing. So let's talk about when you're not running. What are you passionate about?
Reading.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know that about me. I read not near as much as I did when I was starting out, trying to get on a better path. But reading, I love Netflix and stuff like that. I love murder documentaries.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So I'll just go on these little binges. And man, once I watch one that I'm hooked on, we're watching all 4 episodes. Everything else is going to come second to this now. So I'd say that. And then just as far as hobbies and stuff, I love hanging out with good friends, going to get something good to eat. But the sad part is when we're all hanging out, we're just talking about what we usually do. How was your run yesterday? It's but you get so engulfed in it. And I've always had an addictive personality. It's all I care about for the most part. And that's not necessarily healthy, but it just genuinely is who I am. So I want to know how this is going and how are you doing on training like this. But hanging out with good friends, man, outside of it, it's nice. But we usually stay training for something. So that's usually what the topic is about. I swear, it's crazy. I get done with the race and I'm like, all right, I'm taking 2 or 3 weeks off, and then you get Keith Evans. Hey, man, we got Louisiana Marathon coming up. I'm like, God dog it, man. 10-week block starts tomorrow. I'm like, God. But just things like that. I'm sure there's a couple more. Like I said, 2 years ago, I used to love to play flag football and stuff. That was my true number one sport was that. But just as I've gotten older, it's hard to get a bunch of 31-year-olds up to go throw the football. Maybe when you were like 25 and stuff, I was fortunate that we did it as long as we did, because, you know, usually after high school, a lot of people, you go to college and you end up, but we had a great clique here that I was able to do stuff like that. But as I've gotten older, and I used to watch a lot of football. I watch football still a lot. NFL, I play fantasy football and all that good stuff. So there's a lot I do outside, but for the most part, it's biking, swimming, or running. It's a sad life, but it's fun. And I'm fortunate to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Any final words of wisdom, my friend?
One really good quote that I love is, every man has two lives, and the second begins when he realizes he has just one. And it just lets you know, you get to a certain age, it could be younger or older for some people, but it probably hit me at 27 or 28, and I heard that quote, and it was just like, we only got one life. And I'm not by any means trying to leave some big legacy, just the people that I'm around, I truly try to be the best person I can. And I've always been a good, charismatic, loving person to people, but not always have I shown it like I wanted to. So just little things like that, just try to be the best you can be, no matter what that is. I don't have to be running or anything. At your job even, I always try to show up on time, be punctual, and then just every person you encounter, treat them fairly. Treat them with kindness, try to inspire others, and then let other people inspire off of you, and just try to be the person that you truly. When you're at home, like randomly thinking those random thoughts, I wish I did this and that, I try to live by that, and that's pretty much it. And being consistent will take you a long way with no matter what you do. And the power of positive reinforcement is another big thing too. Set big goals, envision yourself doing them before they happen, and great things will come for sure.
Oh, Bradley, this has been so amazing, my friend.
I probably blabbled too much, but I'm sorry about that.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And like I said, just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. You did tell me beforehand, as we've had conversations about the timing of this, and you kept saying, but it's not a pretty story. And I was like, but those are the ones we want to hear.
And I appreciate that.
Like, that's so inspiring. It makes me appreciate you even more. Because like I said, I just thought... I didn't know that much about Bradley, and now I do. And so it just makes me appreciate you even more.
And I appreciate that. And another thing, too, I'll add on top of that, too, is no matter where you are in life, you can always turn your life around, because I'm a living testament to that. And by no means was I some crime-filled person by any means, but I did make a lot of bad decisions, went down a lot of bad roads, did a lot of bad things, and I've turned my life around. I found a great support group, and I hope, if anything, this story can touch a couple people and inspire them. Just get out slowly but surely, day by day, even if, because I failed too. I went back to bad habits since I've become this runner. When you just got to get out of it. You got to shake your head off and then get back at it. And every day is a stepping stone. And sometimes you're going to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But if you just trust the process, get around people with the same mind frame, same goals, you can do incredible things. If you get the right people in your corner, you can move mountains. And I truly believe that. So,
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh.
I've had a blast. I'm glad this went well. I was nervous. I rehearsed this about 1,800 times before I got here. I'm a good talker, things like this, when you get me one-on-one. And I was just nervous to tell my story, but I'm not that person anymore. So I've just put it off just because it's like, man, do you really want to talk about all that? But this is my life, and this is my story, and this is who I am. If it inspires one person, that'll help me a lot. So that's what I hope to do here today.
You inspire our running community so much.
Thank
I said, you are just... Anytime I see you, I'm like, there's the hype man. He's here. He's arrived. Like, that's what I say.
Fired up always, man.
So I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure. Yes. Seriously. Thank you.
It takes a whole new meeting to dive into that pain cave, as Bradley shares. Just an incredible person, incredible athlete. Thank you so much, Bradley, for sharing your story. Like, wow, it is so impactful. And again, like I said, it's not over. It is so many more finish lines ahead of you. And man, just absolutely the incredible person that you are, the athlete that you are. And again, the joy that you bring to our running community is just absolutely incredible. And I'm cheering for you from a triathlete perspective, because you're doing things that wow, that's just absolutely a whole nother ball game right there. So proud of you, my friend, and how far you've come. And again, it just makes me appreciate you even more because of your story. So thank you so much. And I cannot wait to see the rest of your chapters because they're going to be amazing. And again, you attack each chapter. That's what you do, my friend. Absolutely an incredible inspiration. And again, thank you for what you do for our running community. Just so impactful and just so kind. And like I say, you're Mr. Encourager. That's what you are. So thank you, Bradley, so much for sharing your story. This podcast is also made possible by our Patreon supporters because they make sure that our editing software is paid for. They take care of us. And so they have allowed a burden to be taken off of Gray with the stuff that he uses. I really don't know how all of it works. I tried to understand it. It's not really my realm, guys. So truly thankful for our Patreon supporters making this podcast possible, along with our Fresh Junkie friends at Fresh Junkie Racing. Again, check them out at Fresh Junkie Racing. And their social media pages, guys, phenomenal. And cannot wait to see you guys at Battleship 12K. It's gonna be epic. And as always, Mars Hill, thank you for providing such a safe place for us to be able to share our stories, no matter how messy, how hard, how beautiful they are. Just thank you so much for giving us the safe space to be able to do that and believing in the running community. So huge shout out to Mars Hill Church for the beautiful room that they give us. And like I said, Greg Gaillard from Gaillard Tech Services, he takes care of our website, editing the podcast. He makes us all sound really good. So we really appreciate him. And guys, go to the Run Your Story website because you can find local races. You can find Fresh Junkie races. You can also find national races. Gray tries to really keep it user friendly and things that as a runner that you would want to find out. So definitely go check it out. And we'll be having a big announcement coming up soon about someone who will be added to the Run Your Story family. So we're very excited about that as well. So guys, just so many incredible things happening. Don't forget to like and share this podcast because Bradley's story is so incredible and you never know who needs to hear it. And as he says, if it inspires one person, this is what it's all for. And that's exactly right. If one person hears Run Your Story and they think, if that person can do it, I can do it, then we've done it. That's the whole mission. And also deepening our roots as a running community to get to know each other more. And that's what I love to hear everyone say is like, man, I've gotten to know that person a lot better through this podcast, or I had no idea, or wow, I love the feedback. And so guys, like, share, comment, let us know what you're thinking and also who you want to hear. We love being able to provide who you guys want to hear. And so again, thank you for all of our guests who have become family members with Run Your Story because that's what you are. When you sit down with me, we're family. We are in this together. And so I know how important your stories are and how invaluable they are. And so it truly means a lot to me when you guys say yes and you sit down and you share your story because they are just that beautiful. So truly appreciate you guys and all that you do. So share away. Your stories need to be shared. And as always, guys, Bradley, a part of your story has become part of mine, and I'm truly thankful for that. I am a better person for knowing you and knowing your story. So I take your story whenever I go and hit the pavement because every story needs to be heard. So guys, go attack the pavement.